What's up, fellas?
How's it going? Hey, baby.
What's up, guys?
All right, we are back, and we have brought another
Witness.
person, a special
Yeah,
guest.
A full-time regular guest.
Yes, and he's
Like
almost
Nick
as
Man in
special
the
as
Carpet
us.
Show.
So, it's been a long week. I wanted to get into it.
It's awesome.
Devin, you've had the day off
I
of
did.
your day job, and you've been digging into this week in college basketball. What stood out to you?
A pretty good week. I'm really glad that Purdue got this little 5-6 day break heading into the big game against Michigan State. Michigan State also has the same break, but it's their spring break. So I don't know. I guess Izzo doesn't want to practice them like crazy because it's like they still want some downtime, but at the same time, So I do know that. Um, as far as like the games go, well, I should really. I have been studying, but I've not really. Don't have the games up in front of me right now to see particularly what.
Well, you're good. The ones what we talked about earlier today, the ones that stuck out to me as far as wagering advice you've given, the Minnesota game. I think that the more I watch them and just dig into them after Purdue had played them, I'm just more and more impressed with them, and they certainly covered against Illinois.
Yes, they did.
I don't think we were surprised by that, but a lot of people were scared by that line.
Yeah, I had a few people at work that like they always ask me for their advice, and I'm like, before they even said anything, I said,
have the cheesecake.
Yeah, can't worry about all that. Yeah, we need to talk about that. Places of business and such.
Garcia can play, man.
What now?
Garcia for Minnesota, he can ball.
Yeah,
I think there's 3 pros on that team.
Yeah,
Garcia, Payne,
Garcia, Payne, and yeah.
They have actually more pros on their team that will be on most teams' Sweet 16 runs. And that's probably not that far off.
They're pretty young for the most part, from what I understand.
Yeah. I think Garcia's winding.
He may have a COVID year left, but when we reviewed the Purdue game right after it was over, man, he looks like a lottery pick. Like just his skill set, his length. He has a jumper, and he's also a playmaker. He's a true 4, but he has everything you want in the NBA at that spot.
Yeah, they were. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do. I mean, the Big Ten tournament is in Minneapolis this year, so they're going to have some home crowd, and I think they're going to make it a little bit interesting, to be honest with you. As far as I have no idea what their odds are. I've not looked at it, but as far as like a dark horse that could make a run, I mean, their biggest problem for them is they're going to have to play I don't know. They might get a single bye the way they're playing, but they're not going to, I don't think, sneak into the double bye territory. But if they could, they could play just only on Friday. I mean, I think they'd be a great, but I think their first game would probably be on a Thursday at this point, which means it's got to be 4 games in 4 days. That's pretty hard against the top of the Big Ten once you get to that Saturday and that Sunday if you make it, because then even Penn State, excellent team last year, but I think they just ran out of legs against Purdue. And, unfortunately, I mean, for Penn State fans, they just ran out of gas. They had everything they could. But if you had to do that 4 days, that extra day on there,
yeah,
I don't think they would beat like a Purdue or an Illinois in the final. Like, they might be able to beat somebody else if there's like an upset or, something along those lines. But they'd have a hard time, I think, on their 4th day to beat a team of that caliber.
Yeah.
But they certainly have a shot. And if things happen, they're more than capable. And, But I definitely wasn't surprised by Minnesota covering that spread. There's going to be no wicked defense in that game. I think my biggest concern was like 11.5 points is a pretty big spread, but
It's huge.
When you put 90 burgers up, the bigger in an NBA game, 11 is not that big if you score like 130 to 145. Like,
Correct.
stop anybody. So.
Well, my thing is Illinois all season long has not shown it's not in their DNA to really guard. And seeing what Minnesota is and what they bring to the table with their backcourt, the length in their backcourt, and certainly their front court and the activity that Payne brings.
Yeah.
I was not surprised. So I'm not a betting man yet. Hopefully Devin gets me there. But one thing that stood out to me was the over-under. I think it was 156.
Yeah.
Knowing how Illinois guards and what Minnesota is capable of. Yeah, I'm sorry, it was 154.5 was the over-under.
Oh, yeah. That was
smashing.
That was crushed at halftime.
Yeah. It was 105.97 ended up being the final there. That's a
lot of points.
Free money.
Well, I saw something on the Twitter sphere, or the X, if you want to call it. I always call it Twitter. You're on.
X still sounds dirty to me.
Yeah,
like that's just guilty conscience. I don't know.
If X wants to sponsor our podcast, then I'll call him X. And it'll be Twitter. The artist formerly known as Twitter. So,
right.
Anyways, so two of the most are the highest points per possession games in our teams scores in the country. Or like Purdue had the number one when they played Rutgers. They got 1.5 something points per possession, which is absolutely just
that's ridiculous.
Captain Insano. You cannot beat that. On the season, I believe Alabama does, and I think Purdue might be like second. So Illinois actually topped that in that game. What Purdue was number one on the season for like most points per possession in a game this season. And Minnesota was fifth in the same game on the year.
Gross.
So it's like it took an epic shooting night from Illinois at home to beat Minnesota. So like I think all things being equal, and Purdue and Illinois alike, right now the top two teams of the Big Ten, neither one had to play at Illinois this year, and I would say it would definitely have been a loss, honestly, certainly for Illinois and probably for Purdue. I mean, just being honest, and it's always been a tough place to play. In the last few years, it's been not nearly as hard, but this year, there's no free wins in that building. They will be very, very good next year. So, and as far as betting goes, you and I were talking about this. The betting market has still not caught up to like Minnesota's capability because
they're a covering machine.
I mean, did you go look and see what it was? I didn't see what it was, but a couple of weeks ago it was like 17-3 or something versus the spread. I mean, which is just I mean,
it's a beast
of a game versus spread the rest of the year, and they'd still be maybe the best covering team on the season. Be one of the top. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, betting related, but aside from college basketball, after the All-Star break in the NBA, the first night back, every game went under. And I think somebody put a $50 bet on every game to go under, and I won something like $57,000.
Oh yeah, that's a nice bet. That's funny. I wonder what kind of a trend. I mean, obviously that's probably something where it's been a trend where several games after the All-Star game are like.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you get teams to lock in. They're trying to make moves going to the playoffs and everything else. So the free willy, I'm not going to play defense thing doesn't really fit too much, after the All-Star break.
I think the
least thing you could do is play some defense in real games so they don't play it in the All-Star game anyway. So
yeah, I think the All-Star game went over again this year, and I feel like it's something where pretty much they can't make the number.
You think it went over?
You think
for like 400 points?
One side.
God, if they make the over/under like
the over/under
50 or something. I mean, I don't know.
Enough.
There were 3 fouls in the entire game. Yeah. 3 free throw attempts.
So pathetic.
3.
Yeah.
There's no defense.
I know.
Game. I don't even bother anymore.
I mean, I swear I thought the over/under was something like 370 or
it doesn't matter.
I know.
It's
over that.
You take the over.
I know. It always goes over.
And the tragedy about that, we're not going to sit here and talk about the All-Star game too much, but I think that the mistake they made is they got away from the Kobe Memorial format in the fourth quarter. That actually is pretty exciting to where you have to hit 24. It got the first three quarters, you get everything you want out of,
highlights,
dunks and highlights. But in the fourth quarter, those fuckers are competing.
Absolutely.
I don't know why in the world you would go away from that format. If I was to bet on anything, I would bet that next year they go back to that.
Adam Silver was when he handed that when he handed out the trophy, he was hardly impressed with what had happened, for sure.
Adam Silver looks like the Lizard King. It looks like if you unzipped his face, he'd be a fucking lizard.
That's pretty good.
Sorry. Any thoughts on that? Look at your face. You look so disappointed. Sorry, Dad.
No, you're golden. I was
all right. I
was reading the subheader, and I was starting to think about college basketball like tournament expansion, but I didn't want to.
Oh, you're fine. Let me fix it.
Upset the NBA apple cart. So
no, there you go. I fixed it for you.
Oh no, you're not going for that already yet.
You're fine.
No, I mean it's been wild where I'm not like seen anything like formal whatever, but I think like NCAA tournament expansions like the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
Like I mean I assume we're all in unison on that. Like I don't understand it. They have a hard enough time getting the teams like 65 through 68 or really even the last 10 or 12 in the field. What are you going to bring to the table by bringing 36 more teams or 20? It's just silly. Like you're just going to have one more. I mean, just hoping that they take out somebody good and you have more trash. I don't know. It's just silly.
So
result in the Big Ten tonight, though, Ohio State beating Nebraska at home.
Yeah, I called that too. -3.5. You need to start putting these picks up. So
you need to start because if you'll be feeding people tindies.
Yeah.
Not ramen, as I had to eat.
I do have timestamps on the last picks I made. They just were going to be on some like blue or green box to a friend. So they'll be jinky as all hell, but I can prove it.
Other games of note yesterday, we got Auburn, Tennessee. Tennessee won 92-84. Any thoughts on that? You being an SEC country?
Oh, me? Oh, sure.
Not us, because I really don't fucking care. I don't live there.
Yeah, I know.
Well, all right, moving along. Just go ahead.
Basketball? Like
what? Yeah, fucking basketball.
Basketball.
Football season.
I mean, I think at least closely, Alabama's pretty excited about having college game day, this weekend versus them.
Alabama's a good squad.
They're a good team. I've been to Coleman. Like I went to a couple of years ago. I went to Coleman Coliseum. That's funny. Coliseum, might as well be. And Alabama was playing Houston with like about half the cats they have right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were like, so Alabama was like 10th and I think Houston was 9th. So it was like a top 10 matchup. And obviously, of course, I'm used to going to Mackey Arena, all these games, and like every game is just ridiculous there. And, as I go there, and obviously it's not nearly as big as Mackey Arena and not really designed as the same. And, it's actually a good place to watch a game. And these people were into it, but it's sort of like, it was bizarre. Like, it's such a football place that they were excited and they were into it. And like Alabama won, semi-controversially, like barely at the end, like by 1 point. And it was like, obviously they're very excited. People were like, but it was almost like, I don't think they understand how good of a basketball team that they just beat. Like, I mean, they thought it was great, but it's like, man, you're like these teams could play like 10 times and you guys this is the only one you'd win. Like, I mean, and they couldn't have played much better and play at home. And I was, and so honestly, an unrelated note, it's been talking about maybe in the past, this has been a couple of years ago now. And, Jamal Sheed, he was there, and Alabama like players and like were like really ticked off, or not Alabama, but other Houston players were like really ticked off about how it ended. Samson's upset too, but like they'll get off the court, but like some of the players were just like pissed, and so they just start like knocking over like things like a trash can and whatever else, and so they all go back, like kind of everybody got the court sort of. And Jamal Sheed comes back and starts cleaning it up on his own. Like a couple minutes later, puts all that stuff in the trash as just like a super classy move. And I'm like,
try hard.
Do what?
Nothing.
Oh,
I just said fucking try hard.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
I don't know what you're even talking about now.
Try hard. Fucking try hard.
Sure. What's going on with this?
He's turned into an egg.
Part of the Gone Network. Anyways, this has not been the strongest we've had to a show, so
I think it's actually doing great.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I do.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways, it just shows what kind of like first class character that guy is.
There he is.
And he's back in the game.
Family time, I got things to do too. Sorry.
Noted.
Well, you let them know.
You put this thing up right here and tell her how that works. Not really, but
No.
That's your.
You missed our wrestling episode last time, Adam.
Yeah, you did. You totally did.
You missed. I don't want to give you away anymore. Like on your ride home, correct? But on your ride tomorrow, you listen to the story time episode 3 part 3 story time, and you will laugh.
Yeah,
I'm sure I will.
It's hard.
Does it involve sunglasses over here jumping from a banister?
No.
That was
story time.
A totally different wrestling story.
It involved your. I guess we're
it
trying.
Involved you bananas at a stadium.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
you're getting warmer.
That was a great night.
It's detailed in story time, and see the problem is story time. I think if you have no interest in reviewing college basketball games or anything else, we should just at least come to story time, because story time involved the wrestling night. There was what else was there?
White trash casserole appearance.
The white trash casserole, which led into that.
White trash casserole.
Our epic three.
Is that like a hot dish? Is that what this is?
Yeah. So the young man that joined us at the wrestling event, he
we save names for protection of people mainly.
Yeah.
Typically.
I would like to get that young man on the show though.
Yeah.
If I could find him, you guys don't need to be on here, but I think I'd just like to go toe to toe with him with wrestling.
Yeah.
But I don't know where I was going with that.
There's not too many people I would like wager against you as far as wrestling details and facts, but I don't know. I've
been out of the game. I'm coming. I've made a comeback, much like The Rock. I made a comeback. I've ordered a bedazzled Versace vest for my birthday gift to myself.
Yeah,
The Rock came back as an absolute heel from my fan.
I
don't know that shit anymore, but
you don't. So
no.
Do you have any thoughts on it though?
What, on wrestling?
It doesn't matter if you have thoughts. Yeah. You fucking jabroni.
You knew that was coming.
You didn't. He answered.
No,
I know. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, I know you did. Because
I knew you got the last time, but I enjoyed it.
You got the people's "It Doesn't Matter" last episode.
I did. And then honestly,
along with the Josh is here.
Yeah, but the 3-6 poker table.
That's the one we really needed you at. Because I wasn't there. I
had an offer. That
what?
You had to be there in the moment. It was a great night. Most of it's a blur.
well, that's too bad. Because I was hoping you could add to it.
I'm sure I could have added to whatever you were saying, and it would have clicked little things in my big brain here.
There's so many other stories we can touch on, but what I'd like to have happen is you to listen to that episode and get your reaction on it later and add to it. Because
I feel like when you watch it, you'll be like, oh, yeah, and then like be able to remember certain details.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it would have definitely spurred some.
But I mean, do you remember that they we were like just doing drinks and tipping them really well?
At 5 a.m.
Like the waitress loved us because like we were tipping I was tipping like real fat, like normal.
We sat at the table. If I had it was like right after the last games, I think. So I think we started at like 10:30 in Vegas time.
Oh, we
went till like 5 or 6 in the morning at that table.
We were basically staying up so I could get in line at the sports book.
Right.
Opened it like that. That's all we were doing. Like, it was like 3 o'clock. I was like, well, we got to be up in 3 hours. Let's just keep grinding. We did.
Didn't we get cut off in Vegas?
Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
That's how it started. That's how. Can my one drink be a carbo? No.
We didn't get cut off as much as they asked us to stop drinking.
I mean, we were ordering shots every 10 minutes. So
yeah, that's it. Well, first of all, they were like, okay, you guys can like have like odd drink, like every half hour or so.
What kind of shots were they?
We were doing car bombs.
We did car bombs, and we did
like we were doing car bombs for excitement and Jaeger bombs to keep us alive. Because you needed that,
poor heart.
Yeah. No, so like, you were a couple of seats away from me. And it was just one of those things where I was like, they're like, yeah, you guys are a little bit like too far gone. I'm like, this is like 3-6 limit. I can do this with my eyes closed. Want to see? Oh, sir, we've seen you in the last 45 minutes. Your eyes have been closed. Oh, I'll let you go. That didn't really happen, but it sounds funny and it's probably not that far away.
At some point, we got to where we were sitting right next to each other.
Yeah, that was exciting. Yeah, because I was able to we were able to fucking giggle like school children, because that's
not the first time I've been cut off at a poker table either.
What?
That's not the only time I've been cut off at a poker table.
Yeah, that's the only time that I can recall.
I've been cut off at much better tables.
I wasn't even really cut off. They just said we can't. They're like, we can't serve you for like a little bit. Hand us one of those like crappy 6-ounce waters for whatever it is, and then. After half an hour, they were cool with it. But we were ordering kind of like my theory at a craps table. It's like, I want a Crown and Coke and a Corona at my hands at all times, miss. Here's a 20. And we were kind of doing that, but with a beer or a cocktail, like Morgan and Coke, something like that. And then, every so often, 9 minutes, we do a carb. It wasn't like that often, but it was pretty every half hour.
It was every half hour to an hour for sure.
Yeah, it was in that window, and we're talking about 9 hours of playing poker.
But we were winning. We were winning at the same time. People couldn't believe how much we were drinking, but so they just call everything down, and they just
could not believe what fell.
Yeah, the kill pots got kind of gnarly.
Yeah, see now you're recalling. Yes, bring it back. This is the good stuff. Yeah, there it is. I want to see your point of view. So it was 3-6 limit.
Fuck it.
I explained to the
be damned.
Yeah. Well, remember, so we were kind of both doing well, and then I really don't remember how you were doing. I knew you were but it was maybe not as phenomenal as it once was because there was some donkey action there, big time.
100%.
Oh, and so I was just saying, I went down a couple, $200 or $300 after being up, for a while, a couple $100. And I remember I had, some good hands, pocket aces, nope, dunzo, 20,
no, that table you had to play 3-9 offsuit, and you would just nail it.
Yes, exactly. And so, it didn't take me long on the losing streak to be and then the people were happy about it, they were fucking proud of themselves. First time they, got off the diaper and, potty trained, they were like, that's great. I didn't crap myself. And so so they got their, Huggies pull-ups, they were like, oh, cool. This is the first time I got to use the potty without mommy. So like, so we're at the table, and as we alluded to the last time, like they were like proud of themselves for their like 10-4, like 10-2. It's like, you are not Doyle Brunson. Stop it. Just put that crap away. Don't play that trash. So it was just a bunch of like just garbage. It's like if you were playing poker, but you were better off playing in between with those same two cards, your hand sucks ass. Absolutely. And they were doing that crap like ace rag, unsuited. I mean, this stuff that's just super trash. And it's like, fine, it's like, obviously, clearly you don't care about $24 a pop at a time after whatever.
They did not either.
Yeah. Oh, not even remotely.
Didn't you go on like a huge kill pot run at like 5 in a row or something like that?
This is great. Yes, I did.
Back, right? But I want to remember that because you had a post, right? You have to post your 12.
Yes.
People were like re-raising before getting cards. Like they were re-raising you.
But you know why?
Because they were pissed.
Well, yeah, I was pissed.
They hate us.
But I was pissed. You know what happened? Was I got burned on like a couple of monsters in a row, and I had lost a few $100. So then I'm like, I told you, I'm like, yeah, I'm not even going to look at my cards. Watch this.
Yeah.
I was like, is that what you guys want to do? Okay. Cool. I'm sure I can beat you with whatever's under here. It doesn't matter. Like, like a magician, like what's under there? So I lost, obviously a couple like really tragic hands with good cards. And I'm like, well, because everybody was just like trying to like hammer it. Well, especially when it got to, you win 2 hands in a row, it's called a kill. So you can actually double the blinds basically, and you can straddle double the big blind amount. So you can, on a 3-6 game, you can be in for 12. You can straddle 12 before you even get the action. Because no matter where you're at regarding the button or the dealer, everybody has to call you behind you, but then you can actually raise that bet on top of that for that increment. So I was like, well, if we're just going to play, pickup sticks with their assholes, then like, I don't know if you've noticed, but my friend and I are doing car bombs on the hour and Jaeger bombs on the half hour. So we can do this, but could be blind sinking drunk here, but we'll do it. And that's fine. You want to keep on greasing me on your trash? I'll play better trash. It's fine. You want to get trashy? I'll get super trashy. Here we go. So I told you, it's like, I'm not even gonna look at my cards. And I always put like my checks on top of my cards, like, and just sit there, and I'm just kind of like looking around the table, like, I'm like, bet. And then like, of course, at a certain point, they're just like, okay, like, obviously he's just trying to like intimidate us, whatever, first hand. And I'm like, man, you must have really something good. I'm like, I have no idea. And they're like, they're like, they're like, no. They're like, oh yeah, there's no way like you bet. And I'm like, okay, you're right. I looked, just like, sure, I did, totally looked.
Right.
And it's like, and then like, so like the first hand of like that steamer, after I was just tired of getting my ass beat with good cards, I was like, the guy had like pocket jacks or something like that down, or pocket, I don't know, it might have been like ace king. It was a pretty good hand. And then like, an ace hits a flop or something like that or whatever. And I have like 8-3 unsuited. And we've like bet this thing like to where there's like $175-$200 in this pot, because there's like 4 or 5 people in it. But after a certain point, like, yeah, I missed this really bad. There's an ace on the flop. Like, I don't have that. They're all out. So I think I bet into him like a couple of times, kind of back and forth, because he wasn't totally sure. He's like, well, you could have a set, other things. At this point, he doesn't realize I've not looked. Otherwise, he would have just probably tried to bet me into oblivion. And eventually I just say, okay, I'll call you because I'm down $75 and let's just see what I got. At this point, I don't know what I've got. And so it comes over and it's like, I think he had like ace, king, ace, queen, something like that. And then the flop comes out and they're like an 8, like, or the river turn, everything comes out. All the cards are out and I have like an 8-3 are on the board. And he's like, what do you have? And I was like, I don't know. And I'm like, he flips over his ace, king, like all proud. And I'm like, 8-3, and like the 3 hit on the river. He's like, what the are you doing, dude? And I'm like, I said I didn't look. No, you said no. You said I looked. No, I didn't say I looked. I told you I didn't look. So, the next time you're like, now some more people are intrigued. They're like, oh my God, that is just brutal. I'm like, kind of shrugged my shoulders like, it'd be like that at this table. Clearly, I'm trying to join the ranks.
So, absolute warfare, mind warfare.
Oh, yeah. So, like the next hand, I didn't look. And so most people were kind of like making sure I didn't look like, did you look or, did he look at his hand? And like, nope. So, like, at this point, I kind of I think I did that baby straddle or whatever else. And then some people like real hands. So this is the hand where the guy had like pocket jacks and like he's betting. And I'm like, raise. And like three. And so he hadn't paid attention because like most people were like, like obviously they saw that I had that really crappy hand. And they're like, well, maybe he hit a pair. And so they didn't believe me that I didn't look because I was just in it for like, $80. But I was like, I don't care. Like the cards don't matter. Like who gives a shit? Like let's just play some poker. Or let's spin the roulette. Oh, here's some greasy trash. Cool. So anyways, he has like pocket jacks and he bets pre-flop and we do like kind of big bet, but I think so his thing is like, oh, I've got this monster hand. I want to keep people, I want 5-6 people in this thing.
Correct.
So the flop comes out, he hits a jack. And so now he's got like a monster. So now he's kind of representing, and everybody knows that he's looked at his card because he's sane. And I clearly was hammered and was not. So, so he's like bet, hammer. Like one person, like I think might have seen it. And so like half the people were like no longer interested in playing this hand because they're like, well, this guy probably really does have a hand. And I think somebody else had like a pair in that hand or something like that, if I recall. But it's like, it was like tens or something. So like, he didn't have anything above, and he's looking at somebody's got one jack, I'm dead, So I think he might have saw one to the turn, and then that guy bounced out. So we're going like, so he's betting into me, and I'm like, and he's like shocked, like he was like shocked that I'm like, I'll raise, and he's like, like people were like kind of like, what are you doing, man? Because most people were like, this guy really didn't look this time. I was watching. He just put his cards down and put the poker chip on it. Cool. And so he got a little 25. He's got a nice little 25 cookie just sitting on there, just ready to get popped, whatever in there. So, anyway, so he like raises and then so I'm really making him second guess the fact that he's hit a set on the flop, like trips, like he's hit, like, he's hit that. And he's like, what in the hell? And I think he even was like, made a comment like, what in the heck do you possibly even have? I was like, I don't know. I don't know. And so like, I think there was like 3 to a straight on the board somewhere in there where it was like, like it could be open end or something like that, And I think there's like a jack 10, I can't remember the scenario on this exactly, but I know there was like basically a straight out on there and not really much else,
Yeah, there's like 2 perfect cards to take him out. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he like bets and like, it got to the point where it was like, well, if I lose this, I've probably lost all the money I've gained on this, on the first hand. But it's been a lot of fun just playing in the dark, whatever. And he flips it over. He's like, trip jacks. And I was like, I flip mine over, and they're like, holy fuck, it's queen 8. This guy's got it straight to the queen. And I'm like, kind of like shit-eating grin, like, pass the sugar. And I just fucking, just like I did that first one, I'm looking, just raked all that shit right on over. I'm like, and this guy is just, steaming, so now it's like, now we've been 1 in a row. Now it's like full kill where like, you can pop it for like 24 on your raise. And so now everybody is just licking their chops like, oh yeah, sweet action. Here we go, baby. So like, so everybody's like trying to like, so people had to have some super trash. But like, and they were still stayed in because like, but they've seen their trash and I've not seen my trash. So like, like whatever. So I'm like, let's just go ahead and make it 24. And people just like shaking their heads and they're like, and now everybody knows for sure I've not looked at my cards. So now even people that are like, I've got queen 7. I mean, I might be
they're looking at me for advice, and I'm like, I fold. A long time ago, I'll have another
here's your advice. You fold. It's like he's probably going to beat you. You're not going to like it, and you're going to want to kill yourself. It's fine.
Very true.
If he's stealing it, you're in deep shit. It doesn't, So anyway, so it goes around, and there's a lot of people like in the action, and of course they're kind of like at one point, like there's like 12 is the actual blind, and so some people are like, man, like it's not really 12, it's really 36. Like because they know it's gonna be 24 or something like that, or someone's gonna call, and if someone has a hand, they'll bet if they're crazy, And then of course I was already gonna raise, so like you already knew you're dealing with 24 minimum, with your shitty cards. So like, and that's before you even see the flop. So you already know, like, this is like,
mind you, most people buy them for like 100. So
like
the fresh meat sitting at the table,
$200. So like, if you know
getting him from the club at 3 a.m., we're not ready for this action.
Yeah. If you're like playing like the Vegas vacation version of, like pick a number 1 through 10, 7, 4. I mean, like you're. It's, most people don't put like $100 on. Fine. You can't roll Shambo for 2 bills. Nobody wins.
You can on Fremont.
You can on Fremont. You Fremont stories. I'll get to a little Fremont story before we carry on. But so anyways, like legit. Obviously I look at my hands, and so like most people are like, they have really bad hands, like, well, I can't play with this because it's I'm basically spinning roulette wheel for $75 to see if I can get cards. Like, let's not do that. But you still have like 3 or 4 suckers, one's born every day. So they came around, and like something popped up, and it's like they had like another like really good hand or something. I can't remember if it might have been like kings or something like that. And I think I either busted like 2 pair, or I might have had the trips like that one. So whatever happened was my hands just got incrementally better on just dumbass luck. But I was in it, and these people were like, whatever. And so like, I think that person might have had like 2 pair, whatever it was. I was like basically one-upping it, and they could not believe this shit. So like, it's like they flip it over, and they're like all proud of themselves for like their 2 pair, or like high hitter with high kicker. And it was like, I had like trips or something. They're like, you got to be fucking kidding me. They're like so mad because obviously they know we're hammered, So this is like 3 in a row. So now like everybody's so excited to see this flop or whatever. Same kind of thing goes down, and I think I like busted out a flush on someone's like straight or 3 of a kind or 2 pair, and they were just like livid as all hell because like on the 5th one. So like at this point I went from down like 325 to like up like 6. It was insane because it was ridiculous. It was a lot. I just know it was a lot,
We were just giggling the whole time.
Oh, so and then on the 5th one, I think I like probably lost like 2 1/4, but it didn't even like put a dent like what I'd done. Like I was going to be up $1,000 if I just hit one more lucky ass run. So then, like, I felt like we kind of like overstayed our welcome at that point, and we were allowed to drink again by then as well. So of course we stayed and did that, and I think we saw a few more hands. I was like, well, the sports book's about open about 15 minutes, so it's been real, guys. And we just stumbled the hell out of there with people.
That was at Bally's, wasn't it?
With empty pockets and possibly full bellies.
That was at Bally's, right?
That probably was at Bally's, actually. Yeah.
Bally's for sure.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was good.
When we were on Fremont Street, great place. It was a couple of years later. Actually, I think it was the last time we all went, or the time like 2019, when we were on Fremont Street, and they had those big ass baskets that were like 40 feet high, and you drained it like on your 3rd try.
Oh yeah. The basketball.
Like, you're like, hey, you just go do this. Like people couldn't even like barely get it up there. Like, and some people did, but like they weren't really like, I didn't see anybody make one. You go up there and like 2nd or 3rd try, you like drain that bastard. I'm like, yeah, he's from Purdue. That's how we do. I was like happy. He was like, oh my god! I like ran through the like fence because they had it like kind of fenced off. I'm like, hell yeah! Like shaking the fence.
I forgot what that gave me some prize too. I forgot what it was.
You got some shit. I don't know what it was.
It wasn't worth a damn. It was like a calendar or something. It was weird.
What it was worth everything in the world. You're the first person to do it there. It was great. Priceless.
Yeah, it was like 5 shots for like $10 or something like that.
Yeah, you paid that, and like literally your second one, they were like so surprised, like, we don't really have real prizes to give.
Yeah,
you've never done that shit.
Here's this calendar from 1997.
Why don't you take this child's fake stamp tattoo book like that gets you in on Fremont Street? Just take it. We'll save your hand. Here's
It
$1.
It was like 35, 40 feet.
I know it's like this is what that was insane. It was like literally the second one, like and there was like half quarter things too on regular hoops that people were doing, but like you almost made it again. It was pretty dirty. Like I was like, I don't know. That was exciting. March Madness. It's great.
March Madness.
Speaking of March Madness, how many teams get out of the Big Ten?
6.
Six right now, and really the only other team that probably 6.
So you're saying Michigan State gets in regardless if they win or not this weekend?
Definitely not regardless.
This is a debate.
Yeah.
We spent probably about an hour talking about today.
Yeah.
I think State has to win to get in.
You think what?
I think Michigan State has to win.
Michigan State's not going to beat Purdue, but they're
not going to beat Purdue. But I think there's a scenario where it could be if it's a single-digit loss, it actually helps them.
Interesting.
I think that's assuming they beat Northwestern and IU.
Yeah. So they host Northwestern afterwards, which will be no picnic.
Not at all.
That
is what they're going to tournament for sure.
It's senior
day. But that's senior day. I think it's likely. I think it's likely they beat Northwestern and IU personally.
Yeah.
I think it's more than likely that Purdue blows them out, however. So that to me is the definition of a bubble team. I don't know how you're guessing if you're it's simply a guess if you're trying to figure out what the committee thinks about that. But I think if they tune in and watch what's about to happen on Saturday night, that place is going to be fucking bananas. On a Saturday night at 8:00. I was there last Thursday night, and it wasn't Saturday night.
Correct.
And that was,
Rutgers.
Rutgers is the second highest defensive rated team in the nation, and you can tell they were ready to play. They were not really intimidated by the crowd at all, to be honest, in the first part of the game. So if Michigan State can somehow do that, they have a chance of keeping it close, but I just don't see it.
I don't see it either. Well, the first matchup was not close, and that was at Michigan State.
Well, we didn't play them this year. It's only a meeting we played this year so far.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
But on the Rutgers thing,
that's why it was so easy.
It was very easy. It was an easy button. But like on the Rutgers game, they have this, obviously, as you said, the second best rated defensive.
Oh yeah.
Purdue, that was the game where Purdue put the number 1 ranked offensive efficiency, like point possession game on the season until two nights ago or last night. Like they did that against that defense. So that just shows you how terrifying Purdue can be if it's going. And it was really kind of going early, but that's a different discussion. But going on to Michigan State, you're going to be at that game. So what are your sort of
what's got your dick hard?
Rutgers has given up 1,794 points this season, and they've only scored 1,786. So they obviously have scoring problems, but they do play defense. That's 1,794 is significantly lower than any other team in the Big Ten. The next closest is Michigan State, who also plays solid defense. So Purdue can't turn the ball over, and they got to hit threes.
Yeah.
Period.
Williams that guy's back. He joined the team for Rutgers about 4 or 5 games ago, and that was like so. The first time we played him, he was not allowed to play. He had some kind of like gambling investigation or some kind of other weird thing where he wasn't allowed to play. So they let him play, and that guy's like an NBA caliber player that they picked up. I think his name is Williams. And since he came,
you're gonna have to be more specific.
Well, yeah, there's like a million Williamses I know, probably even on Rutgers, but. Whatever it is, like that guy's made a big difference to their team. So like they were better scoring since he got there, but that's still, 5-game sample size. But yeah, Michigan State, my bad.
Michigan State plays defense. I don't know. Purdue hits shots and they go on rolls. You know how that building gets. It's really hard to overcome. And I'm looking forward to every second of it, to be very honest with you.
Yeah.
I think I've done the math. It's been almost 17 years since I've been there.
Wow.
been a long time. So
not as long as it's been since Michigan State won there, so which is a day. So, and better Michigan State teams have gone in there and got ran. I think this Michigan State team is broken. I personally think that if what Josh says does happen and they really get steamrolled in the game, I think what is their mentality? I know a lot of people shake it off, but what is their mentality going into the Northwestern senior day? Because they'll have a lot of pressure on them to win. And you get everybody gets overhyped in these senior days in the beginning. And my thing is if you don't play a certain way against Northwestern, they'll still beat you at your place, as almost evidenced by Purdue. We almost lost to Northwestern at home. And I know it's a different scenario. It's a lot, it's one they almost have to get, because I honestly think they will lose to either Northwestern or at IU. I have a weird suspicion they will lose the game at IU, and they're way better than IU. But it's just IU's last game.
I've told you, man. I think that IU's mailed it in.
Well,
I think
they won the other night.
Everybody gets lucky.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
Despite the fire alarm, who pulls a fire alarm during a tornado? Explain.
They'll phone in a bomb threat to beat Michigan State.
I don't know, man. I really feel you get a young team, and they're just, to me, they're trending the correct direction. They're just going to run into a buzzsaw at Purdue. It's just a matter of, in my opinion, how much they can mitigate that. But I think that they're going
to speak of, really, I don't think they make the tournament. I don't. They don't have a quality.
I don't think they're trending in the right direction.
What?
I don't think they're trending in the right
What's
direction.
their quality wins? I'm looking at the games this year. They're not. Every major team or an opponent they have, they've lost to.
They slaughtered Baylor earlier in the year, and that's it.
By 24.
Yeah, but at one point they won the game by 35 points or something. They were killing them.
But they lost. Still. They lost to Arizona. They lost to Wisconsin.
Close game. They
lost. Falling off a cliff as well. So,
yeah.
The Big Ten. It's a down year for the Big Ten. There's no doubt about that.
I don't know about that.
I think so. I think it's very there's 2, 3, 4 teams at the top that are good, and then the rest is really mediocre to poor overall. And it just beats up on each other every year. But
I sort of think that there'll be unsuspecting teams in the Big Ten do pretty well in the tournament. I honestly think Wisconsin, notwithstanding, and even depending on their draw, they could do really well past their whatever, but they keep on sliding. So they might be that team that everybody just writes off to be beat in the first round, and then be that team that just surprises somebody and goes to the Sweet 16.
Yeah,
but I think outside of that, Nebraska's a tough matchup. I think Northwestern, even though they lost, very, very critical, but they're a tough matchup for people. I think Illinois is a very tough matchup for people. Illinois is very battle tested. See, Wisconsin's very battle tested. I like to know who you went to go beat and play. They played a lot of good teams, so they might not look good now, but it's one of those things when you get things going in the right way at the right time, you can get hot and do some damage. So we'll find out.
4 and 7, and they're not roll either. They're pushing a 9-10 seed at this point.
Who is?
Wisconsin.
Right now they're a 5 or
no shot.
4.
They are.
6. What?
See, I think you're off on. I think you're off on Michigan State.
17 and 11, 6 and 4.
I think Michigan State's going to be a 9.
I don't know.
And you guys are talking about they're not going to make the tournament. They are. You guys are talking about they're not going to make the tournament. They are.
I said there's a scenario where they don't if they get beat solidly by Purdue and then mess around and lose to Northwestern. The thing about winning at Indiana won't even be that doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah, at that point they have to win 3, or if you can get to the championship.
They would have to win. They wouldn't have to win that many games. But if they lose to Purdue and Northwestern, they're in a spot where
I don't know why you think they would lose to Northwestern, to be honest with you, at home after play. Because I think that what's going to happen is I think they're going to get it's not going to be a close game against Purdue.
They're going to
that's not going to necessarily hurt you.
Mollywop.
I think that you're going to come back home comfortably and be like, "Fuck, this is much better." And Northwestern is, that injury is huge, man.
It is huge, but and they actually, I think Lamborg got injured the last game too. I don't know how bad, but
you're talking about, so they just lost to Ohio State by 3. Yeah, Ohio State, regardless of what you say, like they're their ass off right now.
Playing pretty well, honestly.
Ohio State's good, but they had a 10-point lead with like 5 minutes left.
Ever since they put in the interim coach, I mean, they're playing hard.
We called that too. We called all that.
So that's a 3-point loss to them. Okay, that sucks. You beat your rival Michigan. You beat Penn State. You just beat Illinois. Like, to me, those are big wins. Like, those are your most recent wins. Like, and then
it's Howard
against Purdue. It's not just me. Like, a lot of the national people agree.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, his track record when he gets to March is like Sweet 16 City.
Correct. So is it fair to give that spot to him because of their resume and the fans they bring into the tournament? And
I'd rather have them than a shitty fucking Big East team.
Deserving team.
You're right about that. I'm in agreement there. But my point is, like, if that name did not say Michigan State, would they be in the tournament right now? The question is, they would not.
Correct. I agree. You look at it, objectively.
They're 17 and 12 or 11. 12. They're about to be 17 and 12.
Correct.
Like I said, if they don't win both the IU and Northwestern games, and honestly, the Northwestern game, even if they win Northwestern, if they lose to IU, it'll be a bad enough loss that it's like it negates the Northwestern game. So now, if they win both those games, they're in the tournament. It doesn't matter if their first game out in the Big Ten.
I don't know, man. If you come on here and say that they're going to lose to IU, there's going to be a lot of motherfuckers eating ramen noodles the next day.
I mean, maybe, or there's a lot of people that are going to.
I mean, I'm telling you, like,
they're going to be peddling ramen to other people that are not taking the pics.
I don't know, man.
In my cases at Walmart, like, I'll sell you ramen, free data. That's what they're going to do. Hopefully that wasn't offensive. It sounds great.
It's fine.
I didn't say any of those magical words, the 7 words that you can't say. God rest his soul.
So I don't know. I 5, maybe 6.
Sitting 6 in the Big Ten, to me, you're not a bubble team. Sitting six in the Big East, you should not be a bubble team. But apparently you're a shoe-in. Like, you're an at-large, just fucking.
You make an excellent point on what I'm just saying is, like, and I understand it sounds crazy, and I get it. It's like they've been on the bubble. This is their 4th year in a row they've been on the bubble.
True.
One of the years they almost barely made it in.
Yeah, they had to play in the play-in game, didn't they?
Yeah, they had to play at Mack Arena, which they never win at, and then they lost to UCLA in that overtime game.
Right.
And, like, that was the year after the COVID, like, where they had to be in that play-in game. So the games that would have been in Dayton, they'd be in that. And I'm telling you right now, I think they're at 9. And if they were to lose to Purdue, that's not going to hurt you, but that might move you from, like, the top or the middle 9 to, like, right there where you're like 9/10. And if you lose that game to Purdue, and then you go back and you somehow lose that game to Northwestern, it's like now you're up against it. Now you're a 10 at best, possibly 11. In one of those, and in those level of teams, they put you in Dayton because, like, you got to play your way in at that point because you're a high major, so they're gonna like, hey, you got to go this route.
I mean, if you're going to make a case for Michigan State, you can make a case for Iowa. They basically have the same.
Well, that's why I was saying you might get 7 in because if Michigan State handles their business, Iowa's been surging, playing much better, and so, like, Iowa's going to have a couple. They're kind of like Michigan State, except for Michigan State's in and Iowa's not in, so they're going to have to win 2, 3, 4 games. They might have to have an upset and then but Iowa finishes the season hosting Illinois. So if I
They had 2 games left. They play at Northwestern on Saturday.
Yeah, so if they win at Northwestern and they beat Illinois, brother, they're
in.
They would be a bubble team at worst. That point.
I would agree with that because they've been playing pretty well the last.
So
really since that game.
Obviously, winning at Northwestern will not be easy. But I'll tell you right now, put it on this podcast. Word is bond. Iowa is beating Illinois on their senior day at Iowa. That's happening for sure. I've been saying that for weeks. I've not said it on here yet, but you've heard it here first.
The bold prediction.
That's happening now. Losing at Northwestern will be no shame. But so at that point, if they don't do that, they got to win a couple games in the Big Ten tournament. Then it gets interesting. And a lot of that really depends on who steals a bid, who does that. So do I think Michigan State's ultimately going to get in? The answer to that question is I do. But
right now it's predicted to be they're a 9 seed in the West.
Well, just like I said,
as of right now.
But when they lose to Purdue, they probably won't drop, but they won't. It's like they're not going to improve their 9 seed. They could go to 10. It's not bad. If they get beat by 25 points. People look at margin of victory. That factors into the net, dude. And so
I agree, but it's not a 25-point loss to.
Okay, so if they lose to Purdue, they come back, bounce back, and beat Northwestern.
And I think that's. But I'm just telling you, as
so
what they are, I think that's likely. I think it's likely they lose to Purdue big, and I think it's even more likely that after they lose to Purdue big, understanding what's on the line, they beat the fuck out of Northwestern at home. It's going to be like paradise after what they just faced on a Saturday night in West Lafayette.
Hey, you got to deal with Boo Booey. Hey, man.
Okay.
Guys that can score.
Northwestern just doesn't beat themselves. And that's the exact kind of team that plays well against Michigan
State. Right. They don't turn the ball over, ever.
Yeah. I think Michigan State leads the Big Ten in fast break points. You don't really get those against Northwestern so much.
Well, you're going to get more than most people because you lead the Big Ten. So,
there are plenty of lower level fodders. There's no George Towns or DePaul's, as we said.
That's what I'm saying. If you're looking at the entire picture, I think that the question was does Michigan State get in? They do. If you're the number 16, the number 6 team in the Big Ten is different than even the number 16 in the.
Fair enough. Okay, so if they lose, right now I believe they're 8-7, or 9-8. 9-8. They're 9-8.
Let me look here.
9-8 with 3 games left. If they lose those 3 games, they're 9-11. They won't be 6th place in the Big Ten anymore, and they'll have a losing record. And
9-8.
They're 9-8. So if they lost, they'd be 9-11. I don't think that's keeping you in.
They lose all 3. They're
certainly not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if they.
There's no way.
I think the Purdue game is a given loss.
Okay, so now they're 9.
And to me, you have to win the last 2, and I think that they will. You just think they won't, and that'll be interesting.
I'm just saying right now it's not like you can mail it in and get in. Is what I'm saying.
You want to talk about mailing it in? I think that IU's mailed it in a long time ago.
I agree that they're beyond dysfunctional, but that building is weird, and Michigan State is way better. But when you're broken and dysfunctional yourself and you go play a road game,
I just don't think they're you think that. I just don't think that. That's good though. That's good that you think that.
What happened? What happened in their 11 losses? Were they just
business?
Were they a machine? They were season ranked 4th in the country. So when you go back and you assess yourself after that, and you're like, we're a bubble team, where's your headspace at? Answer that question.
It's true.
Clearly, they don't give a fuck. They just go out and play each game.
Clearly, they just go out and play.
That's what I want.
They're not winning. They go out and play.
Those are questions for Tom Izzo to answer after I bathed in his tears on Sunday morning.
Yeah, I just don't think
he had a rough press conference about the Xavier Booker stuff online. You should go watch that.
I just don't think you're grounded in reality if you're questioning Tom Izzo. I question, like we were talking about earlier, I question showing them all their losses but I just feel like they're a different team than they were even 3 weeks ago. But
it'll be interesting. They better put up a fight Saturday.
and here's the thing: I think they will, honestly, but it's just not going to matter. I mean, it's going to take
like every team does in the first half.
I think in the first half they keep it close. They're going to shoot well at some stretch in the game. I don't know when it's going to be, but you're just not going to sustain it. They just don't have an answer.
Not the early part. They won't be doing it in the second part.
You don't have enough to throw at Edie. You just don't. So
if they don't come out like Rutgers did, they're in a world of hurt.
I mean, I don't know that
if they're not in the game or leading at the 10-minute timeout, 5-point game, like they're not up like 20-15. At some point in that game,
they're not going to be up 20-15 at any point. I mean, that is
they got a lot. We're going to find out a lot about them.
It sounds like you like IU a lot more than Purdue. Is that what I'm getting from you?
No,
you like IU at home.
I'm just telling you how basketball works.
Clearly. I'm
just telling you as someone that see, and I know you see the game too, but don't get me wrong. Should they beat Northwestern at home?
Yes.
Yeah, they should. You know what? And Denzel Valentine's team would have. And that team's long gone. Cassius Winston's not there. Who's their leader? You tell me what player takes over games and is like, you know what? Obviously, they're awesome starting at Walker. He's awesome, but he's got a groin injury. He hasn't been 100% for a long time. He's a guy that can go fill it up. But who's the guy in the locker room when they're down, takes over the team? Everybody knows that the best teams are player led. Who's the player on that team that leads their team?
I don't know. They're pretty awful.
They don't either. And
they don't either. It's true.
So, I mean, and I'm not, and I'm just saying, do I think they're going to get in? I do, but I don't think it's going to be as comfortable as
I don't think it's comfortable. I told you what it's. I mean, if they lose 2
right now,
of 3, if they lose 2 of 3, I don't think they should be in.
I think they'll be a 10.
But I do think that they will beat Northwestern and IU, and I think that Northwestern will not be close. To be honest with you, I think that this loss to Purdue is going to be that bad.
On January
7th,
Michigan State.
I say they lose one of those 2 games.
Then they're not getting in.
Well, they can still get in, but I'm saying if they lose, okay, here you go. You think they're going to win the 2 games, and at that point, obviously, I think they'll be in, even if they lose the first game of the Big Ten tournament. They might get a shit seed, might get 10 seed, maybe still a 9, but they'll be a double-digit seed. They'll be a 10 seed nobody wants to play, per usual.
They might be back at the play-in if they even get a chance.
Yeah. But so let's just say, okay, so you think they're going to win both games. Let's say they slaughter Northwestern, they beat Northwestern like you think they will. So let's say that happens after they lose to Purdue, they beat Northwestern convincing or just win, either way. And then, let's say they lose a game at Indiana, even if it's close. Now, what do you think? Do you think that they're definitely in at that point? Do you think they could afford a first-round loss in the Big Ten tournament? I say the answer to that is no.
No.
And so that's a possible scenario. I mean, I think it's a probable scenario, to be honest with you. Not even a possible.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And they could beat Northwestern. But losing in Indiana will offset beating Northwestern.
Okay, well, they lost by 14 to Michigan State, or Northwestern beat Michigan State by 14 earlier this year.
Correct. So you got a little bit of a revenge spot. But that just shows you that game.
It's not the same Northwestern team, though.
You're right. It's not.
It's true.
But is it 14 points worse?
Probably.
No. Plus the home
advantage. At home on senior day without one of your best players, I think it is a 14-point difference.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens, what their mental state is after losing to Purdue if they lose bad.
That's what I'm saying. I think that they're going to get their ass handed to them.
But teams with winning pedigree play that way. So I'm all with you. Like I said, when I saw Ohio State, when they fired the coach, I'm like, watch this be a butt plug. I mean, a spark plug. That was something about Mary reference earlier. These damn Nepalese coins. So, yeah, he's a real butt plug.
7 minutes.
Spark plug. So anyways, it was like you could see and I even told you then, I was like, I think Ohio State will give Michigan State all they can handle and maybe win the game. And they did. I told you, like I said, I said they'd lose to Minnesota and they'd come back and they would do everything they had. And you're like, man, I don't know. And of course I understand that. But I just think Ohio State has been this trapped up, like they've had some good talent and they just had no leadership. And so now
I said, I don't know. No, we were in agreement on that.
We were on the same page, but I think you were surprised when I said I thought they would go and beat Michigan State, possibly.
I see Ohio State making a deep run.
We're talking about Michigan State. I was talking when we, as soon as that firing happened, Purdue was your next game. I was like,
this is that game was going to be tough for Purdue.
Absolutely, it was.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that game.
Very tough.
100% said that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying what I said was it'd be hard for that Purdue game will be very hard for going at Ohio State after they fired their coach.
Yeah.
Then I said, what's going to happen with Ohio State is they're going to go be told how big their junk was all week long, lose at a very tough and underrated Minnesota team, and then go back on the road at Michigan State and give them everything they can handle because they're still going to have that belief that they had after once they lost, Purdue lost to them. I was like, that team played inspired for the first time in all season, that game. And they also have Jamison Battle, which they didn't even have in the Michigan State game, which they're lucky because he's their second best player. And they have him. They win that game by probably going away,
It took a 3 at the buzzer beater to beat him.
I understand, but I said they give them everything they can handle.
They rushed the court. I mean, that's embarrassing.
Who did?
I mean, I don't know, man.
The game was at Michigan State.
I know.
State.
Like I'm saying, like Ohio State rushed the court like they just fucking won the tournament. It was a joke.
Against Purdue, not against Michigan State.
No, they did against Michigan State. Like
on the road?
Yeah.
Maybe. It was spring break.
I mean, it was a buzzer beater 3-pointer they won with. And you would have you watch the video, it looks like they won the tournament.
Their kids are excited. I'd be excited too.
Well, I mean, when you're
even that pair
team,
they only have 2 games left. They play Michigan. They're going to beat Michigan at home.
There's another team right there. Like Ohio State's record is coming up. They're going to have
They're going to finish with 19 wins.
Well, so if they finish with 19,
how bad they played in January.
So if you actually want my truth, then if we're all going through all down the thing, I think there might end up being 7 teams. Because I think either Iowa or Ohio State have a real shot. If Ohio State, you said, wins their last 2 games, they're going to have wins over Alabama, Purdue, Michigan State. I'm sure a couple other ones in the Big Ten, like, someone here.
Well, Michigan State doesn't count. They're fucking terrible, right?
It counts for name brand. That's my point.
Okay.
It will count.
Win for me.
What?
It's a quad 2 win for me.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a quad 1 win. See how he's talking.
Keep putting this fucking negative juju on it. It'll be a fucking quad 2 loss for Purdue on Saturday.
I will be in the building. Purdue will not lose.
Okay.
I mean, you can get the most motivated Michigan State team of all time, Mac Arena. They beat us by 10 for the first time in years, like at home.
We will not.
That could happen too. But what's more likely is them losing at Indiana.
Purdue's 14-0.
More likely they beat Purdue than lose to Indiana.
No, okay. Well, I'm glad this is bookmarked.
IU is a fucking joke, man. Like I don't care.
You're absolutely right. I completely agree. I'm just telling you, time and place makes all the difference in the world when you're talking about it.
I mean, it has time and place hasn't mattered shit. You want to talk about who's the leader in that on that team? Like they have nothing to play for.
They don't have one, but they're playing home, and the refs, the guys in the stripes, will be their leaders. That's all they need.
They're not more of a joke than Michigan. Michigan's
they're the biggest. They're total joke. They're horrible.
Howard gets fired right after the season.
I don't think so.
You can't. He's gonna be asked to step down. You can't fire. You can't fire.
They might ask him to be Phil Martelli's assistant coach.
He won the national coach of the year 2-3 years ago.
They're probably trying to get John Beeline back. Like, we fucked up. Why don't you come off that Big Ten network and like take us to the glory? I mean, I don't know why I ever left in the NBA. That's a whole nother discussion. Wow, silly talk. We go to Sweet 16s every year and win titles.
Alone. That's all I want.
And heads up, USC's up by 5 against Washington State.
Yeah, well, that's good. You called
that? I didn't call. I mean, I said I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch the 7.5.
Well, I said it was. I said it was a stinky line, but there's a ways to go.
Oh, there's a ton of ways to go. I'm just telling you, like, they're.
Purdue was beating Farley Dickinson in the first half with 6 minutes left by 2.
You don't need to mention.
We lost.
Like, this is supposed to be a fun, up-loving situation.
This is fun. I like to keep it real.
Are on shit.
I keep it real. I just keep it real.
That's not real. That's just real shady.
No, it sucks. I want people to keep talking about it. I hope they got that on loop in the Boyle locker room. Like, just tell us.
I didn't see a second of that fucking game.
No, yeah, it wasn't good. Like I said, my biggest faux pas of that whole thing was I had a bad feeling when the game started right away. Like by the first media timeout, I'm like, man, this is bad. I've seen this movie. It sucks. I don't like how it ends at all. And I was like, what are we there with, like, people that were new Purdue fans, that like friends of mine, and then my wife, obviously, and she was like new to, well, I mean, like, obviously a few years of watching Purdue, but it's like, when you're used to Alabama football, like they win those games. When you used to Purdue basketball, like you've seen like a shite show a few times, and that train is never late. So I was like, this is so not good. So I literally had a like $800 bet it was like a $650 bet, $700 bet at halftime. I could get Farley Dickinson at plus 750 on the money line. And I had like 700 or 750, $800 like in the thing on my account, ready to hit click. And we were just talking during halftime, and it's like, oh, they'll come back. And I was like, well, I really don't want to talk. And I was ready to hit click and then just tell them the story afterwards. Like, yeah, I just didn't listen to, because I've been watching my whole life. And then it became a painfully obvious with, 8 minutes left in the game. I'm like, because I kept on watching the live odds drop to where it was like, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, like Farley Dickinson is like plus like 120. And then we're like still up 5. I'm like, this is just ridiculous. Like, this is so bad. It got to the point where they were negative on the money line. And I'm like, this is done.
This is done.
I'm so mad because it's like I was going to have like $4,000 if I just would hit click. And it's like, well, losing would have sucked, but I'd have $4,000 to bet on all the rest of the tournament. I would have, extra. It would have been very nice. But anywho, we won't relive that anymore. I know nobody really likes it.
Thank you.
But I'm glad you didn't watch it because it was horrible as you.
Yeah, I was at training with Kiara, and then I heard people making noises. I was like, "What's going on?" So I looked at the score, and then as soon as she was done, I was like, "You want to hear some new cuss words? Let's call Uncle Devin."
Yeah, it's a wellness check.
It didn't really turn out like that. You were just kind of still in shock.
I was totally in shock. Yeah.
So I was like, "Well, I got to go, man. I'll let you go." And then she just looked at me. She's like, "He sounds really sad. Like he needs a hug." Like,
yeah, I could have used a hug, and I didn't even watch the game.
Yeah, I mean, and the worst part was like, it was a Friday game. Like down here was like what started at like 6:30, so it was like a later, not the latest section, but towards the end of like the second day. So you have upsets, but there wasn't a whole lot of crazy upsets at that time yet. And there's one rule, and we're gonna definitely put this on our pod for our into a preview show. There's one rule. If Thursday does not have a lot of upsets compared to the norm, you can bet your ass Friday has all of them, a ton of them.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, and if Thursday has a bunch, you still might get a bunch on Friday. But it's like if none happen on, it's like that calm before this. It's like, oh, this hurricane doesn't seem too windy. No big deal. Oh, yeah. Friday rolling. You might as well just put the house on everything you got, like as far as Underdog City, because they will clown. Because they're coming. And this year – there's going to be some mega upsets in the tournament. Like, luckily, Purdue won't be part of those. I feel very good about that.
I was just about to say, like, you're reliving that. All those, a majority of the core is also reliving that, and I just don't
I mean,
feel good about anyone that has to play Purdue. Like, I think it's going to be an absolute fucking shit show.
First two games in Indianapolis, bro. There'll be a lot of people picking that 8-9 team against Purdue, and we're gonna be like pig blap time. Bang. It's gonna be a reckoning because I think we're gonna go out there and be like, prove a point, 16 seed. You know, I mean, like honestly, earlier in the year, you know, like Samford, like they're like caliber, maybe a little cut above that. Based on
Devin? What are your thoughts on Lawyer right now? What do you do with him?
That's a great question.
You know, what are your thoughts? We've belabored this.
Yeah,
they're tired of hearing us talk about it.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
He's hitting that same wall at the same time he did it last year. For whatever reason that is.
It's a different wall.
I think you put him on the
wall for a different reason. What?
I think you roll him off the bench as your sixth man or seventh man, whatever. Lawyer, you put him against, you know, their second tier of defenders, and you try to get him hot over the next 3 games before these tournaments start. And you give Cam Heide the opportunity because he's proven himself and he comes with the energy. He may not know how to run the offense as efficiently and as effectively as Lawyer does, setting screens and movement and such. But if you can't shoot the ball and hit down wide open shots like we need him to, he's really not. There's no reason to have him on the court. I mean, defensively, he's not great. Not stopping anybody. You know, Cam Heide will get you rebounds. He'll get you hustle plays. You know, he does the intangibles that a team needs to be successful in those moments. And Lawyer's just not. He's not doing it right now. Is he capable of putting up 20-something a game? Easy. But when he hits these ruts, he hits these ruts hard apparently. So I don't know. I put him on the bench. Give Cam Heide the opportunity and let him run.
You're gonna fit right in. That's what everybody says at Mackey. It's gonna turn into a chant.
I disagree with it, but I do want to hear Josh's take.
Well, I
agree with a lot of it, but
if it were, I go back and forth on it. I absolutely agree. I think he's such a net negative on defense. He's really a liability on the perimeter. However, I don't think he needs to be. I think that he's out of position off the ball, but they hunt screens for him, and he cannot get under or over. He's a liability in that regard. But that being said, you have the best backline in decades in college basketball. You can make up for that.
Way to filter to him, right? Like he's filtering stuff in, and that's how Painter wants him to play.
Correct, but I think that there's ways if a team's going to go out of their way to hunt a player, you can really hurt yourself by focusing on that offensively. So if you know that's coming, there are ways to, if you have a weak offensive player that has high offensive upside, you still keep him on the floor, which he does. He has that. He
does have. I agree.
And the thing is regardless of his performance, he could go until the last game of the year, whenever that is for Purdue, and he's still going to be game planned for as a shooter that you have to guard.
You have to scout him.
Have to. You just do, because he's proven to have those spike games against, and honestly, he's proven to have the spike games against elite teams.
No, I agree. I mean,
so I think that Heide is ridiculous. Like he actually has defensive tools. He has length. Obviously, his athleticism is off the chart, and he's a great shooter. I think I could make the same argument for Miles Colvin starting. If there's lineups, there's 3 lineups that I could think off the top of my head that don't include Fletcher Lawyer that I would rather see. And next year it's going to be worse. That being said,
correct.
That being said, I think that it's not going to be a net positive for the team. Now you have to upset a player that's been in a role for 2 years and that can carry over. I think the leaders on the team believe in him and like him, and they're okay with it. I think that giving Heidi minutes in longer spurts and giving Lawyer a shorter leash is probably the way to go. I think that I agree with you. In a perfect world, if these egos weren't involved, I would much rather see Heidi out there for many reasons. But I just think that at this point, it's too late.
Yeah. I would actually never question Matt Painter as far as like his coaching decisions at all. I mean, really, like, you know, he knows what he's doing. But I will say, I actually agree with a lot of the things that Adam and, you know, you also had to say, Josh. I will say this, that I think, you know, what would be a really fascinating wrinkle is like, if he starts the rest of the regular season, the last few games, and then in the Big Ten tournament, he tells Lawyer, he said, I'm going to start Heidi for these Big Ten tournament games. So that way, when the tournament opens up, I'm just saying he's not going to do this, but like when the tournament opens up, people will be like, well, who the hell? So it's just like one more scout because they'll be like, well, they've so like soured on him. And then like when the tournament starts, it's like, you know, Lawyer's right back in that starting lineup. So it's almost just like something to put out there for like just for you to waste your time on and spin circles. Like that's never going to happen. But I think that would actually be borderline genius.
No,
because like there'd be some discord or whatever. But to be honest with you, going on like what I really wanted to say was, I think that Lawyer should get like a shorter leash, and Heidi should get some run. There's no, I mean, I do actually believe that, but like.
So what do you say shorter leash? What are you talking about? Are we running plays specifically for him in the first opening? You know, media timeout.
Is like shooters are going to
shoot, or if he's into the game, or
no, shooters are going to shoot, and he's going to be game planned and scouted.
I am the Fletcher Lawyer. I was the shooter. I understand.
Yes, I understand, but my point is like, okay, so pretend you were in this spot that you should be able to relate very easily. If you were the starter, we're playing those league games we're playing, and you're like, all of a sudden they bring in, you know, Rimsberg for you because like he could get like.
Right, but if my performance dictated that decision, you have to own some of that, right?
Of course you do, but you don't really want to upset the apple cart, right? He came in with Braden Smith. They've built this rapport over a couple of years. So what you're doing is like when Braden Smith goes up and there's a little indecision, he expects the Lawyer to be someplace. Well, guess what? Heidi's not going to be in that same place because that's not what Heidi's game is. So he might be a different place. So Smith's very smart. He'll figure it out, but you've had 28 games of like the exact same starting lineup. You know, it just messes with some chemistry issues. Now, I think
support better than any point guard we've had in recent memory.
He's the best point guard we ever had, period.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's gonna probably end up being. He has a chance to be one of the best point guards.
He hit a wall the same time Lawyer did last year too, but he has not hit that wall even close. And Lawyer clearly has.
Well, Lawyer's situation is he's a shooter. He's in a slump. And if you watch Lawyer, which you have all year long, Lawyer, unfortunately, is like his offense affect his defense. Now, I understand that he's not like an incredibly defensive player. But in the games where he's been really active, you go back and look at Arizona, Tennessee, like he was getting passing lanes. He was doing what he could do within himself. And if you notice, like, or diving for ball, not that he's still playing with a lot of effort, right? But he's not making shots. But would you see him like make that shot, lick his chops, has that confident, real smug, like, you know, like I got this shit.
I hope he has a breakout game that sets everybody up on Saturday, honestly. I mean, that's what I want for the kid. If he has another performance like he's had the last 5 games.
Yeah, but he's not going to get supplanted. So even if that's what you want, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm not going to happen.
What I want.
What is going to happen?
Addressed.
What?
It needs to be addressed.
I think it is. I think that you asked, what do you mean by shorter leash?
His mates are coming. Yeah, I'm trying to get.
Yeah, I think Gillis is your first sub. Gillis and Morton right now are the first sub. I think that Heidi needs to move up in that rotation where he's the first sub along with Gillis.
Yeah, like
and it's probably gonna and maybe you offset it to a minute or two before that first sub where they're separate. So
been amazing this year, by the way.
then the most important thing, it really doesn't matter who's starting. It really matters who's finishing. So, I mean, I think it's a thing where you keep riding Lawyer and you see what game it is. Is this a spike game offensively? Is he really hurting us that bad defensively? And if the answer is, he's a net negative, then you give the
so if he's got a weaker
minutes to Heidi.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I see what you guys are saying. I don't know.
I mean, in a perfect world, in a video game, he's sitting on the bench. But
if you don't sit there and have, which actually against some of the games he's thrived in, like Tennessee, Arizona, they had like 3-guard line. I mean, they had excellent 3 guards. Like all three, they played 3-guard offense. So they had excellent people. So he was, kind of getting. I mean, it was not as much scout per se on that at that time in some of those instances, but like now he's getting sought after on defense and, like in that manner. But what was happening is he was getting those shots, making those shots. And now his overall game rose to like this level where like when you watch him, and the thing about it is like, if you're being honest with yourself, even though I know a lot of people want to do that. If Purdue is at their very best, and you're getting those 15 to 25 point games from Lawyer, who beats Purdue? And the answer to that is nobody does. And I think if now you can get a good Heidi, Heidi had a great game, right? He's had a couple of them, like small sample size. You know what Heidi can do is he can take it to the rack and shoot threes, especially if he hits threes. Now I got to close out, and I was going to go like windmill on your ass one of these days, very soon.
Well,
Lawyer does attack the basket. But what you notice is he gets a lot of contact. They haven't been calling him as much, and he's been missing that little floater that he's been pretty good at. And
Lawyer, yeah,
he has been. But like, when that's dropping, like it has for a lot of the season. So for him, it's like I think they should, and I'm sure they do, get him involved early to get that confidence up, right? Like get him like to where he gets a shot, get to the foul line, free throw, watch a free throw go in. That's everything to a shoot.
It's one of two things for me. It's a fatigue problem.
I don't think it's a fatigue problem.
Or it's a confidence problem. It's one of
fatigue is different. I don't think he's saying fatigue as in like he's out of shape.
No.
As he's getting hunted on screen and rolls, he's constantly fighting through screens.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so why didn't he
takes a lot from you?
Why put on that 15, 20 pounds of muscle on the offseason this last season, knowing that from last season? Why didn't that happen?
I mean, I'm sure he probably tried to some degree. You might not be able to, but you might go really out of his way, next year. I mean, some people just don't have the frame. Like some people just can't do it. Like some people can do it very well without even trying. Some people can do it.
I mean, Braden's put on weight. You can see that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Braden's wired differently than Fletcher Lawyer. I mean, he just is. I mean,
yeah, I do the hip. But
if you watch one and two together, Fletcher Lawyer is a killer. When he goes out there and he's like feeling it, he's gonna make he's gonna do like Ryan crap. He's gonna
Fletcher. I'll tell you this: Braden was fortunate to beat Fletcher Lawyer, and it wasn't the team; it was Fletcher Lawyer in regionals. It took
Carmel, right?
No, he's Homestead.
No. Homestead, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My bad.
So I don't know. That speaks to how much Braden has improved, but that doesn't surprise me at all. I know how he works, but it also like there's a real problem. Like Lawyer, like you need to give him clean looks. And the other thing I would say about Lawyer that he doesn't do to help himself defensively, it's what it is. Like that's just you're not going to fix that at this point in the season. You're just not. You can scheme him to where he's playing in the lane and using his length to get in passing lanes. But like if you're being hunted on screen and rolls and you're underneath on dribble handoffs, like it's just you're fucked. But offensively, what he can do to help himself is he can move better without the ball. There's a lot of standing with him, But when he does have the ball in his hands and he's not shooting, he actually has been a better playmaker.
Yeah.
I think he had like 5 assists against Rutgers when he was playing like shit. I mean, he's smart enough to know, like, you know what? I have this cheat code. And
everybody is tying his play to his shooting, but he has been a productive player, and that's why he's been in the lineup. He gets scouted for, like, and the thing about it is, like, Matt Painter always says this religiously: your makes are coming. And when he goes on one of those heaters and he just wins Purdue 2 into tournament games, people will be like, you can knock that Vince Warrior shit up, because, like, and that's, you already know that's probably coming, you know, because what's going to happen, and you might be able to, it's give and take. Like, if you want to, like, double, triple team Edey, close on that, you know, and right now Warrior recently hasn't been making him pay. But if you watch him at Michigan, you know, he had a couple plays. He had 1 3 that didn't count, and then, like, he made one. So it's like, I think he's actually coming back, like, on the plus side of that slump. Like, you know, when there's a technical foul, I can assure you Lawyer is shooting the free throw every single time.
Yep.
So, you know, there's another reason. You get fouled, you're in the bonus. Guess who goes to the free throw line when they get fouled? Him. Guess who makes them all the time? Him. That matters. You know, there's a lot of intangibles there. And I do think that there's a situation
the free throw, a couple go in, like, early in the game and get, you know, just, I mean, that helps a lot. You see the ball go through a couple of times as a shooter, then it gets a little bigger. So
I just think that he should be possibly one of the first people subbed out, or the second, like, person subbed out, and then that Heidi or a Gillis, or, you know, like, you know, someone like that, like, really a Heidi comes in and kind of takes that minutes, and then rather than, like, what Matt Painter would normally do to, like, put Lawyer back in maybe at a certain spot, maybe extends that a little bit. But you know what? Matt Painter does that kind of thing based on how the game flow is going. So if you've got an elite guard, your 2 guard is really doing some damage. You know, Lance Jones can only guard 1 person. You know, so he'll put in Morton, because he'd rather have him shut down your number 1 or number 2 guard, and then who cares? Like, you don't get your scores. So, like, because how you go on runs is on defensive stops. That's how you go on runs. And so that's why you use Morton, because Morton will be like a run stopper, or someone that can take out someone, you know, or slow down someone's really good guard. And so, like, what happens is,
what happened to Nathan Morton, like, at least taking a shot? Like, the guy doesn't even look at the rim to shoot anymore.
And he should, but I mean, if he doesn't feel confident in it, you want him to, like, you know, but you know,
I just don't know why he doesn't even look anymore. Like, he was hitting shots last year.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't. Well, I think
Purdue, it's like his whole mentality is just defense, and he's neglected.
I mean, to agree, he actually had gone and taken it and dribbled the ball around and done a little bit more, not really shooting, but I think he understands that, like, if he's got the ball, they can get a better shot than him as the option. So, like, Purdue is very good about going from a very good shot to a great shot to damn near perfect shot attempt every time down. And so, does the offense stagnate a little bit when it gets to him? Sure. But if he's a net positive because their guard didn't make their 10th shot in a row, you know, and you got stopped 3 times in a row down on offense, and then you got the ball down to Edey or a kick out 3, and you got 7 points when he came in, you were plus 7 up. That's why he's in. I mean, you know, and he's actually a good passer. He's got good length. You know, like, he goes in and hustles hard. You know, he can go get a rebound here and there. You know.
So your rotation typically is cut down to like 8 by tournament time.
It's already being, you know.
Are you? I mean, I hear everything you're saying about Morton, but
you got to plug.
Are you wanting Morton minutes, or are you wanting, because?
Well, I want Heidi minutes because I feel like it's.
Then you got to say goodbye to Morton.
What?
You got to say goodbye to Morton then.
I agree.
I mean, you can't. I mean,
that's including front court players. So your front court is first. Your subs.
If Heidi can't stay in front and Warrior can't stay in front and Lance Jones is in foul trouble, you know, you got to put somebody in front of their other guard. You have to. And between Morton and and Smith, gives up some size. So if you have the longer guard and they're just killing you, you need to throw another look at them. You can't just sit there. Devin is an insanity. He's doing the same thing over and over and over again.
In no world is anybody scared of
Morton?
of Morton stopping a drive. I would much rather have Heidi on a switch or
Heidi in the game
because of his length, athleticism, and his ability to stay in front.
Sure. Morton,
I'm telling you right now,
if you want to get under the skin of a good player as a guard, like they'll use Morton against Illinois.
It's a spot play. Exactly.
He gets underneath people's skins and he irritates people. He's an irritator. That's what he is. He's all about putting his hands as close to somebody as possible, and that's why he gets all these little cheap foul calls all the time because he's just overly aggressive in what he does. But he knows he has the 5 fouls and he can do it, and he's only there a limited time anyway, so why not use him to some degree? But you can't be an complete offensive liability when somebody is off of you by 15 feet and you have an 18-foot jumper. You have to take the jumper. The offense is designed that way, and there's rebounders on the backside if you don't make it, but just shoot the ball.
Exactly. That's the way the game is. And then the other thing is
like when it stops at his hands and he's not even looking to shoot, everybody else is standing around like, where do I go now? Because the offense is now stopped. It doesn't work that way. Like you have to take that shot.
It's so disjointed when the ball's in his hand as well, is what I've noticed. Like, so when he's the primary ball handler, when Smith is not, like when he gets minutes as the primary ball handler, there's no movement and people are confused. Like he's calling for screens and he keeps backing up. There's a ton of instances where he nearly gets backcourt calls because he's waiting on a screen that's never come back.
Creates turnovers because this doesn't do anything. It's not moving.
He's so different from Lance and Braden as a ball handler. It's not his fault. It's just
I'm just telling you why he's playing, not that. Like, do I think
he's gonna?
Morton will be a very situational type move.
Exactly.
His shining moment will come.
We'll throw him in for 5 minutes.
I'm just telling you.
I'm fine with Morton, the role he plays. I have no problem with the way he plays.
He does.
Yes. Human victory cigar. Yes.
People honest.
I mean, like everybody understands that watches the game thinks that okay, like Heidi should get more run, and even Colvin. I mean, Colvin's a spot player. He's instant offense, and he's actually gotten quite a bit better on defense. But like you said, the rotation gets shorter. So it's like, if you notice, like early in the year, of course, it's early in the year, he put in Colvin, like for instant offense. He gave like Purdue some pretty big baskets in games that mattered. I think he did it against Alabama and he did it against Gonzaga. And we don't win either one of those games if Colvin doesn't have good games.
Yeah.
And so you see the athleticism and the confidence and the shooting stroke. I mean, they actually had a poll on Golden Black where they're like, what player do you want to take the shot if you're down 3 and it's like a half court possession. And like, so like most people, I'd say if it was like full court, you're coming up, like I'd say Lance Jones, because I think he can get to like whatever else and make it. But I'm saying if you want to just take someone that can come in cold off the bench and make a shot, that's Miles Colvin. Because offense wise, it's Lance Jones. But from a standpoint of like, who do you think can go be a stone cold killer and like just pop in there, get a shot? Probably Miles Colvin. Now I don't think he would get the one to get it, but but that's he'd be at the top of I mean, as far as that goes, Smith's a killer, right? Most people would want to say Lawyer because if Lawyer's going, you expect it to go in.
So going back to this Lawyer thing, right? So the last 5 games, 9, 2, 6, 3, and 5 in points. Okay. But shot attempts 8, 2, 7, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
So is he? And most of those are actually 2-point shots, not 3-point shots.
Yes, he's missed, and he's also, like I said, he's missed some of that floater and layup game where I think that's got him off his game to begin with. And one thing I have noticed is that, like, if you notice why it's Jones, Lance Jones can kind of go get his own shot and get himself.
Correct. I don't think Lawyer can really do that.
And Lawyer needs a little bit more time.
He has trouble creating
space.
He needs it.
And so I think Lawyer has more time than he think he gives himself. but he needs X amount of time to be highly efficient.
I think he rushes a lot.
I think he rushes, but when you give him that time, he makes them. I mean, he's
got to give himself that time. That in his head, he's trying to go a million miles an hour.
I think he has more time than he gives himself.
I do too.
Yeah,
I agree with that. In many
situations, he'll pass up a shot that I think he would have shot in January or in December, and I think it's because he's not making the shot. And you're a shooter, like even me, I'm not a shooter at all. But like, if I get the ball in rhythm, I make shots.
Right.
I wasn't a shooter, But if you're a shooter and you get it, then you're like, it's like you just started walking back the other end. Like you want to lose your hand. Even me, lose my hand. I know what's going on. I'm already going back on defense. Like, and I know what Warrior does that. So,
I think the lack of shot attempts are a direct result of him not moving without the ball well. Like
he doesn't slide into open spots when the ball's moving on the opposite side.
He does a ton of ball watching when there's an entry pass to Edie. When those are opportunities when the double comes that he's not in position to get a catch.
Right. So
not even a shot, just a catch.
Down to fatigue where you just can't put in the effort to go to those spots.
But if you go back and watch Purdue on a lot of sets, you'll see one person doing that at all times, almost all time. I saw Wren doing it the other day. I saw Lance Jones doing it the other day, where it's almost like that wide open person because Edie draws someone's attention. Sometimes that person's Morton. Well, that sucks when that happens because your ball's going to get stuck. But the other night, I watched the highlight of the game and Braden Smith came in and decided to take it to like the chair, the paint, and shoot one just outside the free throw line. And Coffin Wren was wide open on the wing. And he probably looked at it as like, well, and Coffin Wren can make threes, especially in rhythm, right? But he felt like the way he was going, high percentage shot, and he didn't even shoot the ball that well at Michigan. I think it was like 3 for 14. My point was he felt good enough that I'm going to hit this pull up from the free throw line coming up in rhythm. Is a better shot than kicking that ball out to Coffin Wren. But I've seen him do the same thing when Heidi was sitting out there, when Lance, now if Warrior would have been out there, he probably would have kicked that out. And so, just because in his mind, he probably sees it all the time in practice, sees this as well, I know he's going to make this, right?
No, that motherfucker still remembers the Homestead game and him looking like a white Ray Allen. That's why he keeps passing it to him.
There you go. But
he's got that in him. I agree with that. Here's the other thing. Unless he becomes incredibly improved on the defensive end, you're going to be talking about Fletcher Lawyer's minutes next year like you're talking about Ethan Morton's this year. That's a fact.
Well, Ethan, Warrior will have minutes on a team because he's such a good shooter.
Ethan Morton minutes, yes.
No.
Okay.
It won't be that. Well, he does play a decent amount of minutes. I mean, maybe
you're gonna.
They'll be lessened.
He's gonna have that role. It's hey, we're losing Morton. We need someone to fill this role.
Lawyer's averaging
man
game right now.
How much?
26
minutes a game.
26 minutes a game.
Who is?
Lawyer.
Okay, how many points per game is he averaging?
10.
Okay. Well, at one point it was 13, so obviously it's dropped down a lot. But...
I mean, if you look at his breakdown, though, you're right about for the most part, big games he does show up and he's there. But those big name teams or high ranked teams or whatever, they're obviously locked into stopping Edie and doing that thing. So that presents the opportunity for him.
Well, yeah, that's not going away. There's going to be an outside shooter open every single time for Purdue, no matter who you play.
Oh yeah, I mean.
So, do you want that person to be Fletcher Lawyer and let him cook, or do you want that person to be, Ethan Morton or possibly Heidi? I mean, Heidi can certainly make it, but I mean, I think that Heidi, I'm just saying he's not going to get supplanted from the starting lineup. I'm just saying that's not going to happen.
No, I don't think so either. I think
he's on.
I think that
Matt's contemplating it now. I'm not saying he's going to pull the trigger, but he's contemplating.
I just think he's going to get lesser minutes, and Heidi will take about 3 or 4 of those a game, maybe, which is enough for him to make an impact.
I think that you made a good point that you can't second guess Painter, but if you wanted to, I think
if you do,
I think from the jump, I think Lawyer's game, just his game, is better suited off the bench in those spots.
Well,
I think whether it's Heidi or Gillis starting, I think if you started the season that way, there's a case to be made that you'd be like, man, I wonder why Lawyer doesn't start. Because he's just seems to always. So his game, you can hide a lot of his flaws coming off the bench. You just can.
Well,
Getting the opponents, getting matched against your opponents' bench players is a completely different thing. It just is. I think that Heidi, he's a redshirt freshman. He's been like, if you're going to criticize coaching in this situation, he's kind of got this. And I think he's admitted as much that Heidi needs more minutes. But
Heidi was injured in high school his senior year.
Yeah, his dick was on the rim all the time. It hurts.
I know. And I think parts unknown, like ankles and whatever. Like, so he was a little late to the party as far as like being ready to play from that and the conditioning and coming, like, so now you can see like, and so even last year, like the problem is like, it's like, well, fast forward to next year. Like now you have a valid point now. Because now you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. I think that you're going to see Boyer
coming on board, and they can all get to the rim, get their shot, shoot shots. The athleticism is going to be like Rhinoceros.
So I told you this. I never thought that Colvin would play a major role this year, but you give him a year in the system,
defense,
and a year to improve all season. He's a factor. Catchings is a lottery pick.
Catchings is starting.
Yeah, you're not getting that spot. Like, and he's really going to be their 3, is what it's going to be. He's a skilled wing, and Lawyer is your 3 right now. He's a true 2, but he's playing the 3 right. He's out of position defensively as it is. That makes it worse because he's asking to switch on athletic wings. And I think you would be better off having him start on the ball, honestly, and switch to a less athletic player because the switch he's getting hunted. So don't have him start. Don't have him start where you're going to be exposed. Like that's the easiest fix.
Right.
To that.
You know what's going to be junky
defensively? It helps him and build his confidence back up again.
You know what's going to be kind of junky? I mean, he's going to bring them along, but he's crazy talented. So, it's hard to see him not being in that 3 spot. But, like, what's going to happen is we're just going to roll out with Trey Cofferman at the 5 and then play like Will Berg at the 4.
Yeah.
Who can go and shoot threes and go in. So now you have, like, and then you're going to have catching. You're going to have – it's going to be – and then it's like –
Purdue with a stretch 5.
I think you're going to see First and Rin in the front court.
Yeah,
you know how many lob dunks are going to be next year?
Yeah, you're probably going to get
field day.
First is underrated.
Oh, he is.
As far as how he runs the floor.
Yeah, he'll be.
He finds open spots. He can be a rim runner, or he can get to the short corner and wreak havoc with his first step. He's a problem.
I tell you, the sad thing is, obviously it's probably just time for like whatever. But the sad thing is like Mason could come back. I don't think he's going to. I don't know whether they'll just go do a pro thing or whatever else, or I hate to see him transfer and do whatever, maybe get a bigger role somewhere. I don't know. He may or may not do that. Who knows? But like,
Lawyer's minutes are up.
What?
He can get Lawyer's minutes.
Well,
those are up for grabs. I've heard.
But if Gillis comes back, then someone's transferring because he'll get some run. But I mean, first we'll get a chance to shine. Next year. And then Kaufman Wren as well, it'll be like nuts because like they'll bring in like 5 off the bench and you're like, are you fucking kidding me? You'll be like, knock this crap off. Because the next 5 is going to be Clown Town. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's going to be like Josh and I already talked at length that we're pretty sure that Purdue's like second to like third squad, like half the second team and the walk-ons would beat DePaul. And Georgetown. I'm not even kidding around.
They're pretty good.
Purdue's
set up for a long, long time.
Yeah,
Purdue's.
I think they would.
Purdue's women's team. You think can beat DePaul?
I think no. I said
You're
Purdue.
probably right.
What? What? I didn't hear you say it.
It's fine.
Purdue's women's team could beat DePaul.
Oh, I didn't say that, but that's funny. I don't think so.
I said it.
It doesn't work that way.
I meant it.
Fair enough.
And then you got Brian Waddell just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Another year of health. You know, knock on wood. Another year of health. He's actually much more athletic than people realize.
I'm telling you, like last year,
he's a legit 6'7".
Peter said if he didn't get injured, that he would have played some. I mean, and he actually tore his ACL, so he had whatever. So he got redshirted, but Waddell has a chance to be like, I mean, from a skill standpoint, he's way better than his dad. His dad's a damn good player.
Oh yeah,
his dad's a really good player.
I said this the other day.
Every walk-on's dad was a good player.
If Waddell could have a time machine, he's taking all of his dad's minutes. His dad gets fucking cut.
Yeah. I mean, we'd still have I think Adam would still have those number 11 shorts somewhere, but other than that, this play hard Waddells. Kick him.
Yes.
They're good.
Those were great. Yeah, the play hard on the butt.
Yeah, he was great white hope. He's great.
USC's holding on.
Are they? Are they winning?
Yeah, they're up 5 in the second half.
Good for you.
No, I'm just telling you,
I mean, I didn't disagree with you. I did. I'm still a little surprised. You said they were coming on you. I mean, I took your word that it was sneaky cheese, so it's not. But I did say I thought ultimately Washington State would win. I was like more money line, but I did lay the 7 with the guy. I told the guy to do that.
Yikes! I guess the line before the game got to 8.5.
I saw 6.5.
It's 8.5 is what I see.
Oh, well, he got it for 6.5 because it must have moved a lot.
Well,
so somebody knew something. But there's a lot of time left. Second half just started.
They're not.
That train's ever late.
Say that.
I mean, for that bowl of ramen, I will take Washington State right now, without even knowing anything about the game, not watching it, nothing. You'd like to buy me a nice one of the big bowls of ramen, not those little square packets. I want like the spicy shrimp one. Like I'll put that as a board bet.
Bronny James has 2 points and a rebound.
Yeah, but the thing is that we already had this conversation. Bronny James's impact right now is he's probably easily their best perimeter defender. I'll put it this way: if he was on Purdue's team, you certainly would be like, Fletcher's got to sit because he's just trying to get back. Like he's just trying to work himself in. Like he is like I've watched cut-ups of his
LeBron James. For as smart as he is as a basketball player, obviously didn't have the infinite wisdom to put him on a good team. If he could put him on Ohio State, didn't even do that. That was silly. I mean, USC is never ever any good. Like, wow, this is a waste. This is a waste. That was silly.
I mean,
put him on freaking St. Mary's. You could watch him fly up there. Seattle, Gonzaga.
It didn't work out as planned. Forgive him. He nearly died. He had a heart attack. So
he was already committed long before.
Sorry. Yeah, no, that's what there was a plan in place. It's fine.
That plan in place was to be the third best James in the family at basketball. It's fine.
Okay.
It's cool. It's okay. The first one is, that's understandable.
It's fine.
I've heard his younger brother's better than him.
I've heard he's better than Glenn Robinson
himself. I mean, Ron James is not even better than him. That's absolutely possible. So.
No,
it's really tough. Let's put it this way: Glenn Robinson was a far better college player than LeBron ever was. So there you go. That can't be disputed.
You just
next.
I would
LeBron James gone. Had LeBron James gone to college.
Well, he would have played at Ohio State, and he would have been struggling for minutes with Greg Oden's older brother. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. It's okay.
Ohio State still won the national title. fine.
He probably would have went to the University of Akron and won a fucking national title. Is what would have
He
happened.
would have been Player of the Year nationally at Akron and got 45 points a game. That's great.
Easy.
In the national championship.
He would have lost in the Sweet 16 to.
No, I'm sorry. You're
Probably-
mistaken.
Probably Purdue.
You clearly took a little bit of time off from watching basketball in that period, huh? It's
Yeah,
okay.
It's fine.
It's okay.
He has periods every time he gets fouled. I got your period for you.
You sound.
You're dead.
You sound.
Skulls.
It's
Put a
just.
Band-Aid on it, Bobby. I'm kidding. I don't want you love him. We were all fine until you start talking that Glenn Robinson shit, and it knocked that off.
No, clearly.
I knew that was.
Clearly, you.
Totally.
I wasn't comparing LeBron to Glenn Robinson. I'm not crazy because that's just fucking stupid.
LeBron is
You even put Glenn Robinson in the same conversation. I was saying Bronny is better than Glenn Robinson.
No.
Yes, that's what I said. You should have been much more triggered than you were. I'm sorry.
Glenn Robinson won 30 basketball games.
That's great.
Bronny is not going to win half that.
Do whatever he wants.
He's not.
Sorry.
He's probably going to stroke out.
It's good.
Probably Glenn Robinson's Gatorade. He would probably have another heart attack because he'd have to keep up with them.
Wow.
But LeBron James is much better than Glenn Robinson. Let's get real here.
What now?
I said LeBron James is obviously way better than Glenn Robinson. That's not even a discussion. I just said he's a better college player. That's all.
You did say college, which factually
Which is just sure he was, but
He was.
had hypothetically, if LeBron goes to college, it's unlike anything. It's like it would be like him playing on a Nerf hoop.
It would have been.
Yeah, it is. It's not even real. It wouldn't have been allowed. He was going to skip his senior season of high school.
My towel would have been right there to make sure that he stroked his John all the way to the river. When those games were on ESPN, man, he was excited. I don't know if you like LeBron James more or Bobby Knight more, but it was very close for a short set. He was a big fan.
Who likes Bobby Knight?
If LeBron could have been coached by Bobby Knight at Duke, man.
LeBron liked Bobby Knight?
Oh my God. No, Dick Vitale. Dick Vitale.
Oh, yeah. I got you.